This is Tanzania, and violence has broken out across this nation. From Dar es Salaam to Arusha and Dodoma, protesters have poured into the streets, furious over an election that many say was decided long before the first ballot was cast. President Samia Suluhu Hassan is widely expected to retain power after a vote held under tight control, a vote where her main opponents were barred and political challengers silenced. By nightfall, the scene had turned chaotic. Smoke rising over the capital, fires burning along Morogoro Road, security forces moving in, and then the curfew, a dusk to dawn order announced by authorities in a desperate attempt to contain the unrest. Internet access was restricted across major cities, leaving millions cut off, unable to communicate, unable to share what was happening around them. According to Reuters, the violence erupted shortly after polling stations closed. With opposition parties disqualified or blocked from registering, turnout was sharply lower than expected. Many voters stayed home, describing the election as, and I quote, "a coronation, not a contest," end of quote. The Washington Post reports that several leading opposition figures were either detained or banned in the months leading up to the vote. They say they were forced out by what they called an unfair code of conduct imposed by the government to restrict political activity. As the results began to trickle in, frustration spilled into the streets. Protesters, many of them young, carried flags and banners chanting for freedom and democracy. Police responded with tear gas. Rubber bullets followed. Dozens of people are reported injured, and the number could rise as the night continues. In a statement released just hours ago, government officials condemned what they described as acts of sabotage by what they called enemies of peace and progress. But witnesses tell a different story, of police beating demonstrators, of journalists detained, and of citizens running for cover as security forces fired into the air. President Samia Suluhu Hassan, Tanzania's first woman head of state, took power in 2021 following the death of her predecessor, John Pombe Magufuli. Magufuli, known across the continent as the bulldozer, was credited with bringing major development projects to Tanzania, new highways, power plants, and rail lines that reshaped the economy. His focus on infrastructure left a lasting mark, and for many Tanzanians, his name is still synonymous with national pride and progress. When Suluhu took office, there was hope that she would continue that growth while opening up political space. But in the streets tonight, those hopes feel distant. Critics accuse her government of taking a harder line, tightening control over civil society and suppressing dissenting voices. Social media restrictions have deepened the anger. X, formerly Twitter, has been largely inaccessible since early this morning, an attempt to block the world from seeing the scale of the unrest. For a generation of Tanzanians who live online, that blackout is more than an inconvenience, it's a silencing. And the divisions run deeper still. Even public figures who support the president are now targets of fury. Popular musician Harmonize, one of Tanzania's most influential artists, was attacked by a crowd after showing public support for Suluhu's leadership. His team says he escaped unharmed, but the message from the streets was clear.
Hatutaki CCM! Hatutaki CCM! Hatutaki CCM! Hatutaki CCM! Hatutaki CCM!
Support for the government comes with a price. As night falls, The East African reports that police have imposed a strict curfew on Dar es Salaam. Petrol stations and local government buildings have been torched. Roads leading into the city are blocked. Authorities say they are restoring order. Human rights observers, they say they are crushing dissent. International reactions have been swift. The United Nations has urged calm and called on Tanzania authorities to protect the rights of peaceful protesters. Western diplomats speaking to Reuters expressed concern over what they described as a non-competitive election process. The United States Senate has also issued a statement urging transparency and restraint. For now, the government says it is in full control, but the images tell a different story of fear, frustration, and a nation on edge. Tanzania has long been seen as one of East Africa's most stable countries, a beacon of peace in a turbulent region. But tonight, that reputation is under threat. This is not just a contest for power. It is a struggle for identity, for the meaning of democracy itself in a country where one party, Chama cha Mapinduzi, has ruled since independence. As curfews deepen and communication lines go dark, the question grows louder. Will Tanzania's peoples accept another term under the same leadership, or will this night mark the beginning of a new resistance?
Naam, nyuma yangu ni baadhi ya wananchi ambao wamejitokeza kuandamana, lakini wamekutana na nguvu ya polisi. Kama unavyoona, mabomu ya machozi yameshapigwa pale, wananchi wakiwa wanatawanyika, lakini bado wakirusha mawe, wakiwarushia polisi. Hali si shwari sana hapa Kimarakibo, lakini tutaendelea kukujuza kadri ya muda utakavyokuwa unaendelea.
For now, Dar es Salaam remains under lockdown. Streets are empty, but tension fills the air. And what behind the silence? The question still burns. What comes next for Tanzania? Thank you for watching. I'm your reporter, the commentator, mjukuu wake Papa Francis. Unanitafuta, hamunipati.